Now, Ambassador Bitlik, if I can just come in here. Now, the Iranians will, of course, turn around and say that, listen, from 2015 onwards till 2018, when Donald Trump walked out of the JCPOA, all of Iran's nuclear facilities were open for inspection from the IAEA. And the IAEA, which was carrying out the inspections there, had said that Iran was always compliant to the clauses of the JCPOA, which limited Iran's nuclear enrichment to about 3.6% purity. It is subsequent to Donald Trump walking out of the deal that the Iranians started to enrich uranium to up to 60% purity. In your assessment, do you think Donald Trump has made a mistake in the year 2018 by walking out of the deal, which has now resulted in a situation where we are facing an all-out war that can potentially rewrite the face of West Asia?
To a large extent, I understand Donald Trump, because he has understood in one moment that the Western powers were to some extent naive, the Iranians were continuing, and please go back in history for how many times the Iranians have been stopping or not allowing the Vienna authority to control their real assessments. How many times I've been reading texts from Vienna saying, well, we are not allowed to do what's necessary to control.
Right.
For how many times? And this is the key at the end of the day. And I understand there really the Americans will say, now, let's stop it. There's nonsense. They betray us at the end of the day. And this has been taken from the beginning.
The American and also the Israeli allegation, if you were to go through not just the last 7-10 years, but in fact the last 3 to 4 decades, especially Benjamin Netanyahu, even before he became the Prime Minister of Israel, had been repeatedly saying that Iran is just weeks away, 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away, 1 week away from acquiring a nuclear weapon through enrichment. How much credibility is there in this kind of an allegation? Because when Donald Trump last year used his Tomahawk missiles to bomb the Iranian nuclear facilities, he said that he had obliterated the Iranian nuclear program, and that meant that the Iranians could not acquire any kind of a nuclear weapon for a very long period of time. Less than 8 months away from now, we are again in a situation where the United States of America has initiated a war on Iran, saying that the Iranians are developing nuclear weapons. In your assessment, how does all of this play out, and who is telling the truth here?
Well, exaggeration is always, let's say, a means of political communication by any side. This applies to the Iranians, this applies to the Americans, to the Israelis too. But it's clear the Iranians, and we know this, were on track towards, let's say, developing the bomb. And what everyone's fear is, the day where the Iranians have the bomb, they will become invulnerable. And with all Israelis and others in the Middle East, the Saudis, the Gulf countries, Turkey, Egypt, they fear this moment. And you can speak about 6 months, 1 year, you will never know at the end of the day.
All right.
Go back, neighbor. Go back to your neighbor Pakistan. Go back even to your own development in India. When did we really see exactly the date when it was fulfilled?
All right. You're raising an important issue there. Now, the Iranians will, of course, say that they don't need a nuclear weapon. They already have these ballistic missiles, with which they would feel that the Americans and the Israelis will feel deterred to a certain extent to try and do what they've been doing with other nations, for instance. For instance, what Donald Trump did in the case of Venezuela, the Iranians say that that is something that simply cannot be replicated in Iran. Do you think Iran, through its ballistic missiles, has a certain level of deterrence, which is making the Americans think about the kind of attacks that they can actually stage on Iran? Or are we still in a position where the Americans can, in your assessment, get bogged down in a long war and bring about a regime change there?
What the Americans and Israelis try now, what I call, is not regime change, but regime destruction. We could discuss hours and hours about the Iranian opposition, if they are ready to take over, yes or no, and what to do, especially with the 1 million of people who are with the regime. It's one subject. The other one is really to assess what does it mean, the nuclear, the ballistics. The Americans and Israelis has always been telling, well, Iran maybe develop short-range missiles. Okay, it's normal for defense, but not long-range and ballistic and intercontinental ones.
All right.
The Russians, the Americans are fearing this, and this means you look at what I call the balance of the Middle East. The balance of the Middle East consisting of 5 powers: Iran, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Israel. And this is a sensitive balance. And the fear of the Americans is that the Iranians are violating deeply this balance.
All right. All right. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Ambassador Bitterlich, for joining us with your perspective. This is, of course, a war that the Iranians will say that they did not want, but it has now begun. But the question, of course, is how far are Donald Trump and Netanyahu willing to push the envelope? Because the Iranians have again said that they want to carry on with their diplomatic efforts. But the fact is, in the span of the last 8 months, the United States of America and Israel, while negotiating with the Iranians, have staged yet another attack. And it's difficult to predict as to where things go. Thank you very much, Ambassador Bitterlich, for joining us there.
Pleasure as always.